Learning how to draw leaves is also a great way to advance your shading skills as you develop a simple leaf sketch into a more realistic leaf drawing. This tutorial will give you a simple and easy to draw example working down into a few digestible steps. Grab your HB pencil and start by sketching a light line down the center of the leaf. This represents the main vein, also called the midrib. Extend that line downwards to make the petiole, the little stalk that holds the leaf. Lightly marking the top and bottom edges of the leaf give us a good idea of its shape. Now let's add some structure to our leaf by sketching 6 lines that represent the main veins. Think of a bunch of linked arrowhead shapes. That's how we'll start our maple leaf. We'll aim for about 7 sections with the bottom 2 a bit smaller than the rest. Use the central line we drew, the midrib, as a guide. Just imagine those arrowhead shapes coming together to form the unique shape of the leaf. This first step is all about building a basic framework for your maple leaf drawing. On each side of the midrib, add 2 points. Connect these points, the base of the leaf, and the tip of the leaf to make a shape that kind of looks like a tilted diamond, or a rhombus if you're fancy. This is going to be our main section. Create 2 more shapes, just like the one we made in the previous step. Connect them to the main section we just drew. A little asymmetry is okay. Don't worry about making the sides of these shapes perfectly even. And this is done on purpose. A maple leaf has symmetrical features, but it always has some deviations or imperfections, and that makes them unique. Let's keep adding those shapes. Just follow the same idea as before. Create 2 more shapes that connect to the framework we've been building. Add 2 little notches to the bottom part of the leaf. These will complete our basic framework and give it a distinct maple leaf look. Let's add some details to the center part of the leaf. Start by sketching 3 lobes, letting them extend out from the framework. Now add 2 more lobes below those first 3. Remember, we don't want to be afraid to make things a little different. The framework is our guide, not a rulebook. Now let's add some lobes to the next part of the leaf. Go for 5 lobes this time. Make some lobes sharper and longer than others. That's what makes real maple leaves so interesting. The diversity is necessary when it comes to drawing natural forms. Let's finish off this part by adding some lobes to the 3rd segment of the leaf. The next 2 sections are smaller. They each have 4 prominent lobes. Draw the lobes for the 5th segment of the leaf. Refine the shape of the lower, additional sections of the leaf. Typically, they have a single prominent lobe, though they occasionally feature 2. Erase all the extra lines, leaving only the outline of the main drawing. So erase the remaining lines, leaving a subtle outlines as a guide for shaping the leaf. Draw the actual shape of the maple leaf, following the faint outline. Make the sections slightly sharper and less straight. Add small sharp edges like tiny horns or points to each section of the leaf. This detail is characteristic of maple leaves. Make sure the lines are slightly uneven and not perfectly straight. With your leaf outline complete, add some finer details by drawing tiny veins along the stems of the leaf. Start by drawing the secondary veins, which branch out from the primary veins, including the central midrib, towards the edges of the leaf. Some veins will be longer and thicker than others, often extending towards the lobes. Extend the vein network by adding secondary veins to all the primary veins of the leaf. Add subtle tertiary veins branching out from the secondary veins. These are very fine and barely visible, but they add depth and realism to the drawing. Once you've added the veins, use your HB pencil to lightly darken the edges of the leaf and trace the outline and shade along the edges a bit. This will create the effect of burnt edges, a common feature of autumn leaves. As you gradually darken the edges, you'll create a sense of transparency and thinness, giving your maple leaf a more realistic look. So enhance the realism of your sketch by using hatching on the sides of the leaf with your HB pencil. Create short hatching lines with a smooth pressure, dragging them from the edges inward towards the center of the leaf. Be careful not to blend or fade the outline or contours while hatching. Outline the leaf and shade from the outside inward, creating a sense of depth and dimension. Darken the spaces between the primary veins and the veins themselves. Also, add some thickness to the petiole the leaf is stuck to make it more pronounced. Now switch to your 2B pencil and use it to further darken the shading and details of the drawing. Begin by going over the stems and smaller veins. Lightly shade over the darkened edges of the leaf, mimicking the technique you used with the HB pencil. You can also add some light shading along the main veins or stems of your maple leaf if you like. Now let's add some shading to the body of the leaf. Focus on the areas where the leaf curves inward from the edges. Grab your knead eraser and add some highlights to the areas where the midrib and primary veins are located. This will make them stand out more. Let's add some contrast. Grab your 4B graphite pencil and get ready to add some interesting patterns. We're going to use a combination of semicircles and thick strokes to create some visual interest to the surface of the leaf. This will help to break up the smooth, even shading and add a bit of natural irregularity. As you're adding these marks, remember to pay attention to the shading. We want to make sure the shading is as smooth as possible, creating a seamless transition between the darker edges and the lighter body of the leaf. Take your time going over the veins in the leaf, carefully shading along each one. This will add depth and dimension to your drawing. Remember to also spend some time shading along the edges of the maple leaf, using the pencil marks as a guide. By adding these details, we'll start to see the leaf take on a more realistic appearance. Continue to pay special attention to the shading along the edges of the leaf. Use the marks as a guide to help you create a smooth and natural looking edge. Remember to blend the shading smoothly, creating a seamless gradient from the darker outer edges towards the center of the leaf. Let's continue working on the shading, adding some light shading along the main stems and veins of the leaf. Once you're happy with the shading, add some small lines and dots to the center of the leaf to give it texture. Maple leaves aren't perfectly smooth, so these small details will make it look more realistic. It's time for finishing touches. Take your 6B graphite pencil and add more contrast to your drawing if you need to. Darken the shadow areas to make the highlights stand out more. We've just completed a few simple steps to create a realistic autumn leaf drawing. The key to creating a convincing leaf is taking your time with the shading process. As you carefully shade and add detail, you'll start to see the drawing transform into a beautiful autumn leaf. The maple leaf is a fantastic choice for a leaf texture drawing because of its unique and interesting shape. It's thin and has a slightly rough texture, which we can capture through careful shading. As a review, to emphasize the leaf's thinness, focus on shading along the edges. This creates the illusion of light filtering through the center of the leaf. Adding small lines and dots within the center of the leaf will give it a grainy texture, a key characteristic of maple leaves. Finally, remember to include those distinctive horn shapes along the edges of the leaf. These subtle details, shaded darker, will add a sense of depth and dimension to your drawing, making it look more realistic. I hope you enjoyed this texture tutorial. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support really helps me create more tutorials and keep this channel going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial, where we'll be drawing a cauliflower since you guys asked for it.